ice cubes on it and then just.
Right, so that's kind of what the ordinance does, is authorizes them to sign that.
Yeah.
You know, they're taken care of, so.
Did I read that right? Which one? Oh, yeah, yeah, you did.
Yes. Executive session.
Call the meeting to order, the stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, clerk, please call the roll. Okay, I will accept the motion to go into executive session for the discussion of review executive board minutes. Moved by trustee Zupan, second by trustee Todd. Madam Clerk.
Trustee Brewer? Yes. Trustee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Tate? Trustee Todd?
Motion is carried. We'll be back.
Yeah, somebody who was saying that. Somebody said they knew that. Oh, I'm good. Oh. But you know, I see their faces up there.
What's up, Frank? You good?
Okay, I'll accept the motion to reconvene to the regular special board meeting with action to be taken. Moved by trustee Carter, second by trustee Brewer. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer? Yes. Trustee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee Grant? Trustee Tate? Trustee Todd? Yes. Trustee Grant? Yes.
Motion is carried. I'll entertain a motion to approve the following consent agenda for the following executive session closed meeting minutes and release them for October 24th, 2017, August 28th, 2018, December 18th, 2018, and March 26th, 2019. I'll accept the motion to approve these as a consent agenda. It was moved by trustee Brewer, second by trustee Cobb. Are there any questions?
Mr. Mayor? Yes. How about the state
We can't hear him.
Mr. Mayor, how about the state from 10, 17, 11, 3, 17, and also 12, 5, 17?
Huh? question? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Carter?
Yes.
Trustee Grant?
Yes.
Trustee Tate?
No.
Oh, say no.
Yes. Trustee Zupan? Yes. Trustee Brewer? Yes.
I'm going to explain what just happened so that we are open and transparent. Generally, with the consent agenda, if someone would like an item to be removed from the consent agenda, they would state that under if there are any questions or comments. That did not happen at this point, but the individual opted out of all of them. So instead of pulling each one out individually, only so that the individual could say no, we went ahead and voted on the other minutes collectively. That is what's happened, and that is for the records. Thank you.
Then the motion is carried. Item number 8, public comment. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Item number 6, motion to approve the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the executive session, closed session, meeting for May 1st, 2019. 2018, but to hold it. Moved by trustee Zupan, second by trustee Grant. Are there any questions? Madam Clerk?
Trustee Grant? Yes. Trustee Tate?
Yes.
Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Zupan? Yes. Trustee Brewer? Yes. Trustee Carter?
Motion is carried. Now, item number 18, public comments. All questions and comments shall be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on special meeting agenda items only. Each speaker is allowed one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate or counter discussion. I will answer all questions following the comments. Please come up if you need to. State your name. Number 9, general comments from the mayor and board of trustees. Trustee Thomas. Take your time. Trustee Brewer. Trustee Carter. Trustee Thomas. I will accept the motion for adjournment. Moved by trustee Zupan, second by trustee Carter. All in favor? Motion carried. We will start the committee meeting in approximately 3 minutes. Okay, we're going to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Trustee Brewer? Here. Trustee Carter? Here. Trustee Grant? Here. Trustee Tate?
Yes.
Trustee Todd? Here. Trustee Zupan? Here.
Okay, first item is the presentation of the fiscal year 2017-18 audit report given by Miller and Cruz. Come right up. You will be asked to speak loudly into the, or close to the mic.
Okay, I think Anthony is handing out the handouts that I'll speak to.
You want to hold it, you can, or
Can you hear me?
No. Maybe if she stood at the podium like it's set up for, you
it
know,
wasn't set up for
all
her.
be acknowledged in a certain way.
I don't know if I can do that and put my pages.
You need some more?
Yeah, I'm sorry, copy.
How many more do you need? Here, take mine. And then she can just give them. Okay, Susan, this is your show.
Okay. So as part of our audit procedures, we issued 3 deliverables. The bound the CAFR, the financial statements, that includes the financial statements for the year ended April 30th, 2018, as well as management's discussion and analysis and transmittal letter. We also issued 2 letters, our required communications letter and our management recommendation letter. I'm going to go through our required communications letter, and that's the letter that you have in front of you that says in bold, our responsibility under auditing standards generally accepted in the United States. So we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards to express an opinion that the financial statements for all material purposes are in accordance with generally accepted audit principles. We did not audit the police pension fund that was audited by other auditors. As part of our audit, we do consider the village's internal controls, but we do not issue a separate opinion on internal controls. But as part of gaining our understanding of internal controls, we did identify material weaknesses and significant deficiencies and other matters, which I will go through in the second letter that I present tonight. We're not aware of any of the financial statements being part of another document, like a bond document or anything else like that. If our audit report was to be included in another document, you would need to let us know so we could review that document to make sure there was nothing inconsistent with our audit opinion. On the second page of the letter, and we'll discuss this in a few minutes, but obviously the audit took a long time this year based on the availability of information, which we'll go through in detail a little bit later. Our firm is independent with regard to the village. All significant accounting policies have been disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. In the next couple of years, towards the bottom of page 2, and the whole entire page of page 3, there's several accounting pronouncements, GASB statements, that are going to be coming out, and some of them will impact the village, and we'll work with the village management to make sure they're incorporated into the financial statements correctly. The most significant being GASB 75, in which the unfunded post-employment benefits, which approximate about $2.7 million at the end of 18, will be reported in the full accrual financial statements. That liability will not impact the fund financial statements. All governmental entities are required to adopt that standard. On page 4 of the letter, as part of our audit procedures, we look at all the significant accounting estimates that impact the financial statements. The most significant accounting estimates are the allowance for doubtful accounts related to receivables, related to sewer, the sewer fund and the water fund, as well as the estimates that go into the judgment liability and all the actuarial estimates related to the pension and the post-employment benefits that are, the liability is based on those actuarial assumptions. And we reviewed all the actuarial reports that are provided to the village. All significant disclosures have been incorporated into the notes to the financial statements. As communicated in our engagement letter, an audit is not designed to detect errors or fraud that are immaterial to the financial statements, and management is responsible for informing us about all known or suspected fraud or abuse by employees or other individuals that would have a material impact to the financial statements. During the course of our audit, we were informed of some alleged fraud from 2 individuals. We performed some additional procedures related to that, and based on those procedures, we didn't obtain any evidence that the financial statements were materially misstated. And some of those items were not in conjunction with the scope of an audit. So just because we didn't find anything doesn't mean the findings are unfounded. It's just that they don't impact the financial statements or are in the scope of an audit within a material amount. There's an appendix to this letter that further details those allegations and some of the procedures that we did. As part of our audit procedures, we do some compliance procedures on the TIFs. The TIF reports are in draft format. There were some compliance findings related to a public meeting, and notice wasn't held during the year related to the TIF reports, as well as the annual TIF reports weren't filed within the required 180 days. And then there was some an amount of money of surplus cash that wasn't forwarded to the Cook County Treasurer's Office on a timely basis. The next section of the letter goes through if there were any differences that we identified by fund that were not reported in the financial statements. We are to disclose that to you, and those are all listed out here. We concur with management that they were immaterial to the financial statements, but you can see on pages 5 and 6, the differences by each fund are listed out here. On page 7, kind of in the middle of the page, we are also required to inform you of any material audit adjustments as part of our audit procedures, and we did record 40 material audit adjustments that were reviewed and approved by management to be recorded in the financial statements. We had no disagreements with management. As part of our audit procedures, management does sign a letter of representation at the time we issue our audit report, kind of confirming all the information in the audit report and our deliverables. We are aware of consultations with other accountants. Obviously, the police pension fund has other auditors as well as actuaries performed by Lauterbach and Eamon, as well as the village hired another firm to do some internal accounting control procedures. The last item I want to talk about on page 8 is we did have a restatement of 3 of the funds related to there was a glitch in the computer system in which transfers between funds in each fund, if you debit one fund, you could credit another fund, and those were recorded as loans. We corrected those misstatements and restated beginning fund balances, and those are all disclosed in the notes to the financial statements, note S. Before I move on to the management letter, does anybody have any questions? So the next letter I'm going to go through is what we refer to as our management letter. It talks about all the internal control findings that we identified, as well as recommendations for improvement. We did identify 4 material weaknesses. One just relates to audit adjustments. As I mentioned before, there were 40 audit adjustments reported. And on page 2 at the top of the page, we kind of list out the nature of some of these audit adjustments. And primarily they relate to just reconciliation of account balances and other analyses of various account balances within the financial statements. The next item relates to, there were certain interfund loans between the working cash fund and the general fund, and they have to be paid back within a certain amount, and they were not, so that's disclosed as a finding. We talked about the findings related to the TIF funds, and then on the top of page 3, this is a finding, as we already talked about, related to the restatement related to the glitch in the computer system of certain transfers that were reported as loans. The next section of the report relates to significant deficiencies. There is a lack of segregation of duties in which one person in the accounting function has the ability to review bank reconciliations, make transfers between bank accounts, and record entries in the general ledger. And that's not uncommon with a small staff. So it's just prudent that there's oversight and of the committee as well as the mayor with regard to financial reporting. But it's best practice to kind of mitigate those duties so that someone who's reviewing bank reconciliations and has access to the cash accounts doesn't have the ability to make entries in the general ledger. And there's a list of bullet points that are listed out with regard to internal controls that can be implemented to mitigate those risks. The next item is a significant deficiency related to just the reconciliation of interfund advances and transfers. Sometimes the authorization of those are not formally and properly documented, or they're in excess of budgeted amounts. With regard to bank and paying agent reconciliations, we recommend those be done on a timely basis. And approved compensated absences, some of the accruals are in excess of the village's policies. The next several items are items that have been carried over from previous years and have been previously communicated. The next couple items are control deficiencies. They're less in scope than significant deficiency or material weaknesses. They're more related to best practices, and these have been communicated in the past. And then the last page relates to, it's more of a best practice item. A lot of entities, whether governmental, not-for-profit, or commercial entities, have been attacked by these phishing scams. So just make sure all the employees at the village are cognizant of all the emails and what to open and what not to open, because people have inadvertently transferred personal information because of these phishing scams, or sometimes have lost money as a result of wire transfers and things like that. Does anybody have any questions?
I do have one question. We've, as a board, talked a few times about a forensic audit. Is there anything in your review that, in your opinion, you feel a forensic audit is called for here?
As I mentioned before, we did not, based on the procedures that we did, we're bound by professional standards to communicate any fraud to the committee and the trustees, and we didn't identify any material fraud or any material items that would impact the financial statements. Now, our audit is not designed to detect immaterial fraud, but we confirm cash balances, we confirm debt, and things like that. There's a lot of work to be done with regard to getting internal control policies in place. As I mentioned, segregation of duties, doing bank reconciliations on time, timely monthly financial statement close processes, which the financial resources of the village, it would be good if they invested in the infrastructure with regard to the financial statement close process to get some more controls in place on a consistent basis.
I have a question. It's my understanding that the audit is supposed to be done by October 2018. Is that right?
Yes.
So we're 5 months behind, and we got to start a new audit for next year, for 2019.
So the village's year end is April 30th, 2019, and that report is required to be filed by October 31st, 2019. There are extensions available through December 31st.
So this particular report is late, right? And we're just not getting started late.
Right, and that was the result of several things. The availability of the minutes. Part of our audit procedures is we have to review the minutes for the year, and those were not available to us until January of 2018, as well as the actuarial reports related to pension liabilities were not available as well. So there's a series of information and account reconciliations that are coming to complete the audit because we didn't have the information available.
Okay, so are we being fined for the 5 months gap or something? I mean, is it generally get fined for it, or we just getting?
There's I think a minor fine related to the comptroller's report. You can get that waived. I'm not sure if the village has done that yet, or if they even had to pay any fines.
So do we have the actual audit? These are do we have the actual audit? Are we going to get a copy of that?
The village has PDFs of the financial statements that they can circulate to you, yes. And the bound copies will be forthcoming.
Well, my one concern is that this is information that we can, but it seems like this information should be given to us a little earlier so we had time to ask you questions. Right now, we have to go back and look. Like you said, try to remember. So maybe next time we're going to get a little earlier. Well, to us a little earlier. I guess it's just our, procedure how we do, why we do things. But we should have, the people here to read and be able to ask questions. So you've didn't give us time to digest what's actually going on.
So the village has had these since March 2019.
Oh, really?
I see that we have 4 material witnesses and a whole lot of significant efficiencies. Did they get better year over year? Like, last audit ending fiscal year, I guess 18 versus 17. Did those improve at all? I know we have some new ones and some that are repeats, but did they get better?
The last couple of years, there's been a pretty healthy letter with regard to recommendations. I don't think they've improved, and it's judgmental if it's gotten worse, but there's always been a significant amount of work to do with regard to internal controls and the financial statement close process for the last several years.
Any other questions? Okay. All right, Susan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The board will be getting the bound copy. I guess you guys will make that up for us so we can get it bounded. Next item, water improvement system, Johnson Controls.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. Thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. We will be brief, even though this is a 20-something page presentation. We're just going to cover this at a very high level, and you can keep the additional information for your own records. My name is Jeff.
You use the mic, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Jeff Carroll with Johnson Controls. I'm a business development manager. And I have with me.
My name is Garrett Clayton. I'm the water team market manager for the U.S.
And we're here before you to recommend, share some information basically on water meter, smart intelligent water meter systems, which is a follow-up to a meeting we had probably about 6 months ago, 6-7 months ago, with Director of Public Works, where we thought there might be a need for water meter improvements for the municipality, for the village. So, in order to manage time, let's get started. The agenda, we've got 6 items, 6 primary items on the agenda. Who are we? What have we learned across the country as Johnson Controls from some of your peers, meaning other municipalities and villages across the country? What is intelligent water structure? Our approach to offer to assist Sauk Village. Why Johnson Controls? Why our firm? Why would you consider something like this with our firm? And then what the goals and any feedback and discussion that you have. But the format I would say is if you have any question as we move throughout the presentation, just stop us and we'll answer your questions. Okay, any questions so far? Okay. First page, who are we? You're going to see the local team. We have an office in Calumet City. We have an office in Arlington Heights. We have an office in Springfield and offices across the country. The team that you're seeing here on this page shows myself, my manager, his manager, our operations manager, Vaughn Zambala, and Derek Clayton, who is here with me today, and then you see us shout out the entire team at the bottom. But what we do on the left side of this first page, Johnson Controls, some people have heard of our firm, some people have not. It's a firm that is 136 years old. We've been operating in Illinois since 1885. 28 locations in Illinois and 1,600 employees working in the state of Illinois. Primarily what our firm does is building controls, HVAC, fire and security, infrastructure solutions for our customers. On the next page, why are we here? You see the triangle with the 4 rectangles off to the side. Primarily, the work that we do with municipalities covers water, wastewater, lighting, meaning street lighting, intelligent and LED street lighting, building retrofits and upgrades, and renewable energy. We use these 4 things to take a holistic approach to increase the reliability of our customers' facilities and infrastructure, to reduce risk for our customers as far as the end result product or project that we deliver to our customers, and then we show guaranteed results to our customers, and we'll go into that a little bit later. So this next page here, you'll see what have we learned from your peers. And this is as a result of our firm doing infrastructure work for municipalities, for state government, all across the country. So we've learned a lot of lessons, we've listened to a lot of municipalities, and what you see on the right is what a lot of local government has been focused on lately. And I won't read all of them, but one is a sustainability plan. That's the third one on the left side from the top. The other is safe and well-lit streets, which every municipality wants that. Healthy drinking water, analyzing data. But the goals that you'll see on the left for most of the municipalities that we've talked to and worked with, they want to be financially strong, delivering quality service. They want to upgrade. They have a desire to upgrade the infrastructure and facilities. They want strong neighborhoods, a strong local economy, and basically a great place to live in a sustainable city. Now here with the green hexagons, you'll notice, these are the challenges that we've heard from the municipalities that we work with. The risk of taking on major projects. It's not part of your day-to-day what you do as a municipality. So there is some risk involved in taking on major infrastructure projects. The desire to free up operating funds, decreased revenues. Everyone is looking for additional revenue, but they have to do more. The pressure to do more with less. Increased energy and water rates, and deferred maintenance. This next slide just shows you a snapshot of the work that we've done across the country, specifically in water systems, and then some details with the state of Illinois. You'll see that in Mundelein, we have delivered $2.1 million in savings by doing work on their water infrastructure. Oak Forest, $10.2 million. Richmond Park, which is nearby, $3.4 million. In Decatur, Southern Illinois, $23.7 million. In Calumet City, which is close by, $9.5 million in savings delivered. And in Schaumburg, northwest of here, $13.5 million. And these are all projects that involve water meter, smart water meter, and basically increasing the efficiency and reliability of your water meter system. I'm not sure, did you want to add anything to that there?
No, the big picture of the community work that's been done is that the entire goal is to find ways to improve the ability of delivering services to your constituents. And one of the big topics in the country right now is water infrastructure, whether it's drinking water, and also wastewater and the pipes in the ground. So one of the key things that we've seen across the country, at least specifically the Illinois area, is we have a lot of communities that have a lot of older infrastructure. We also have a lot of communities that have a need to make change to improve the quality of services to their communities. And they're trying to find ways to find dollars to do that. And through the program that my peer Jeff here will talk about, that's what one of the things we try to do is help communities find ways to make the improvements to provide better services and find ways to find the dollars to guarantee results program. The next few slides, primarily the one stated right after the map here, is its AMI benefits. This is a general benefit statement or understanding of what people like yourselves have been asking to do within their community to make the community better, provide more timely bills, more timely services, and frankly to answer the questions that your constituents want answered. Because when they have a level of service that they expect, and say there's been a diminishing expectation, they call. And these are benefits that people have stated that have come from making upgrades to the technology across their system. And this one is per se is AMI, Advanced Meter Infrastructure. That's just a piece of things. The reality of it is that there's more that can be done with technology to help your community, and with a system such as yours that will state that you want to make some changes, you have the opportunity to do some great things for your community. Advanced metering infrastructure. The next few slides, such as clean billing database, is one of the key things that we've seen within a customer is they have questions in their system. The questions in the data, questions in their how they can provide services through intelligent data analytics. And that's part of the technology upgrades. People want to be able to answer the questions quickly through a couple of keystrokes, and that's a different mindset that we're seeing across the communities around the country through having their database available more readily to your internal staff to clean it up and to overall provide a higher level of service. I'm going to pass some of these because a lot of things are very detailed, and I don't want to get too much into these, so I'm going to keep this at a high level. But one of the key things that I want to mention is when you look at making updates to a community infrastructure, it's really two projects. It's the implementation of the project and it is also managing the data. Because now we all have smartphones, we all have computers, we all have laptops, everybody expects information. And when you do a project such as what you were thinking about doing, or even addressing infrastructure in the ground or any type of infrastructure in your building, information is expected to be transferred. So as you implement change in your community, you want to make sure you capture that information so you can use it down the road. So it's really two projects when you do any type of activities in the community now. It's the actual work, but then the data captured behind it. And quite honestly, what we find throughout the communities around the country is sometimes that's a challenge for the existing staff. And they were asking for help, and honestly, what I've seen is they've asked Johnson Controls to do is, can you help us figure this out, provide a good solution to make us better, to hopefully solve some questions or answer some questions that your constituents are asking. So, just want to give it back to you, because that's kind of a high-level review of some of the things that we deal with.
Very good. Any questions on anything we've covered so far? Okay, I want to move on to the graph that shows how the mechanism that we use to save our customers money. And this is the public sector, local government, K-12, higher ed, same model. You'll see a graph that shows on the far left bar, it looks like two pieces, a blue colored section and a gray colored section. The total of those two is what a customer's operating expenses are today. So to use as an example, a water meter system that you know needs improvement, that you'd like to improve, you know that there's expenses, there are costs that you'd like to drive out of that system, that is the supposed total cost to operate your system. The great piece is what we do as a firm to identify. We walk the village, we look at the equipment, we look at the technology, we compare it to what we know we can do to reduce operating costs, to increase the efficiency of a water meter. Think of it the same way that if the water meter is more efficient, it's going to read accurate, which means it's going to bill accurate. And if it's inaccurate, if the water meter is aged and it is not quite efficient, then there is billing that's not happening. So there's a benefit to the village on the outside. We identify that piece and we say we can drive that efficiency for you. We have engineers, we have project managers, energy engineers, and we will drive that efficiency. So we'll say that the cost to implement the project, we utilize this gray portion on the left to fund the engineering, design, and construction of the project. And we'll get into it a little bit that shows why that's so important. So for the term that the project is being designed, installed, and guaranteed, we guarantee the performance of the solution that we design and deliver to you as a customer for 20 years. And there's legislation that drives that, state legislation. The project basically pays for itself. There is no increased spend by the village on an annual basis. So you basically monetize your inefficiency that you're paying today. You're spending that money today. We find the efficiency. You take that efficiency and you monetize it over 20 years. You get your new system today, you get your increased revenue today, you get your improved database today. You get all the things that you want to do, but you get it today without having to spend additional dollars on an annual basis. After that guarantee period is over, then you enjoy the full reduced expense, and you can reallocate those dollars for other things. Okay, the next slide has the big question mark, time and availability. And this is one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of customers that I talk to, they want to do so many wonderful things, but they don't have the time to design the project, to allocate personnel, to manage the project, to go through the process of identifying all the contractors and contracts, making sure that the work is done, making sure that all the different trades that are on your facilities are doing what you need them to do. We take all of that on ourselves. The village contracts with Johnson Controls. We take care of everything else that needs to be done, and we guarantee the performance. So we are what you would call the one neck to choke when it comes to doing a project like this. I won't go through the details of this slide. I would say, you know, you can keep the presentation and go through that at home, but this basically shows looking at energy solutions, retrofit performance contracting here versus traditional bid spec projects, which is what most municipalities are accustomed to, or self-performing the project. And the one takeaway from that slide is that time is money. The longer it takes you to actually implement the entire project, the more dollars the village spends every year. So we try to capture that at the front end. So like Johnson Controls, because one, we deliver results, two, we have demonstrated experience. So we have customers throughout the country that we can reference, and then we have a dedicated local team. I'm a local person. I live a couple villages just west of here. So if something doesn't go right, chances are I'm going to run into someone someplace, and I want you to smile when you see me and not be angry with me. So we have a local team, and we are very much dedicated to delivering solid projects. Again, risk is the one thing that keeps a lot of customers from doing things. On this next slide, and we take on that risk. So if you want to see a little bit of our local municipal experience, if you look at this grid here, this is basically Chicagoland area and a little bit south. You'll see lighting and water meter projects in the village of Schaumburg. About a year and a half ago, we implemented a 5,000 LED lighting upgrade, full water distribution retrofit upgrades to 9 larger facilities. And there was some additional savings that the village of Schaumburg realized in the amount of $350,000. Closest to home here, Calumet City, and Richmond Park. In Calumet City, I'd say this was about 2 years ago, I believe. We did an 11,000 water meter installation and implemented multiple process improvements for Calumet City. And they are enjoying the improved system. And I'm not sure how long it took us to deliver that project, but typically we're able to deliver a project in a period of a few months versus years, which means you realize that all the benefits of the new system very quickly. And then, what we say Calumet City, City of Centralia, and you have this in your folder. So in summary, what does this mean for you, the village of Sauk Village? One, it means guaranteed results. It's one thing when a contractor comes in to do work and the work is designed, it's bid out, it's built, the bills are paid, contractor goes away. We give you 20 years of a guaranteed result, which means if something's not happening right the way we guarantee it, we come back and make it right. And actually, at the end of the day, we're on the hook to write a check if things don't go right. And from my experience at Johnson Controls, we don't like writing checks. So we do it right the first time. That's correct. No change orders. A lot of construction work that you see, there's a change order that comes. We opened a wall and saw something that wasn't there. So it's going to be another few $1,000s. With the solution that we deliver, there are no change orders. The price that we give you is the price that it is once we get to that point. You deal with one firm, which is Johnson Controls. We do long-term project monitoring. It's called measurement and verification. So we actually submit reports to you that say that the system that we designed and installed and implemented is working the way that we say it's going to work, and here are the numbers that prove it. No separate architect or engineer. Selection flexibility. If there are contractors that the village is comfortable working with that are capable of doing the work that we need done, we do not have a problem working with those contractors. We do not come in and bring on an entire army of folks from outside of town unless we have to for some reason. But if you've got contractors that do good work, we have no problem working with them. And then we provide ongoing training and support to the village staff, so that you understand the new technology, you understand how to utilize it, you understand how to get the value of it throughout the term of our agreement. We're going to use this as the last slide. Our hopeful takeaways from today is that one, you asked to engage us to find out and this piece is at no cost to the village, but basically we need to look at some data. We need to gather data on your existing water system. We need to look at reports, and that's just your time to gather that and deliver it to us so that we can get an idea of a project cost and what the annual savings the village will realize. And then if it looks like there's a project, then we'll come back and say, we're really excited. We think there's a project here that's going to save the village money. But we need to do what's called an investment grade audit and actually do some serious engineering, which then costs us dollars. So we'll say we want to partner together and let's start walking down the road, and that gets us going toward developing the project. So I'll conclude with saying that, you know, the rest of the presentation, you've got it with you. You can look at it later, but our hope is that we can reach back out to you, to whatever person or department that you direct us to figure out how to say, you know, release the hounds. Let us go forward and make your water system more energy efficient and find dollars to help you make that happen. Unless you've got anything to add there.
The only thing I would add is, could you explain what the guarantee truly means and what risk management really means when you work with Johnson Controls?
Yeah, the guarantee says that if we tell the village in our paperwork, after we've done our detailed engineering analysis, that we can reduce the village's water department related expense by $300,000 a year, that we actually guarantee that if you implement our system, that you will get that, you will realize that $300 amount in reduced expense. And if you don't, again, we cut a check to you. And I can tell you, I haven't been here a very long time. I've been in the industry since 1993, and I can say that Johnson Controls is not like cutting checks. And Derek is not like working on projects where a check has to be cut after he's worked on it. And we want to come back and make you a good reference for us. And what was the other question you asked me there?
The point of risk management.
Risk management, unless you do this day in, day out, you know, you have to figure out how we're going to do this. How many meters do you have in your system? How many large meters do you have in your system? How many contracts do you have with contractors that can do the work that would be needed? Those are all areas of potential risk, meaning things can go wrong, calculations can be wrong, you can pick the wrong water meter, you can pick the wrong audit system, you can pick the wrong billing system. All those are areas of risk, and we take those on. We actually develop the project with you. I won't, as I said, this is just high level, but we actually sit down and develop the project with you as a team member. We don't come in and just say, this is what you got to do. We sit down with your department heads, with your leaders, your decision makers, the people that have needs, and design the project with you so that when we walk away, it's exactly what you wanted to have. Any questions? You're pretty quiet.
Question, you said that 6 months ago you had a conversation with the Public Works Director. How did that conversation go?
There was, he said there was need, that basically he was just starting to look at making improvements and changes to the water meter system.
Yes, some of the things that were shared with us was that there changes do need to occur, and one of them was that there was an anticipation that there would be some technology battery declines, and he's concerned about making sure that the system was up to snuff before that failure event occurred. So that's one of the things that starts the conversation.
Yeah. And then I know that you can't give us an estimate on the cost, but for example, on a project that we choose to partner with you guys, is that cost a one-time fee, or is it like some kind of perpetuity that you guys get paid? How does that part work?
At the end of the day, it's a construction project. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, it's dirt, right? Civil engineers, I'm a mechanical engineer. The civil engineers are dirt. So at the end of the day, we're in the dirt. But there's a cost. You know, if we say we think there's a project, that just means you gave us data. We did a high-level analysis, and all the indicators that we look at throughout the country say there's a project here that's a winner for the customer and a winner for us, because we don't want to do a bad project either. Once we get to that point, we'll say let's partner together, and we actually co-author a document called a project development agreement. And in that document, it spells out action, milestones, meetings, such as meetings where we come back and we say, this is what we think the scope for the project is going to be. And we share that with you, and we have discussion back and forth. Because you may say, well, we're going to make a change in 2022, so we don't need that part of the scope. So we don't spend any more time looking at that, which saves everybody money. We have a financial workshop where we engage we have an entire rebate team at our U.S. headquarters in Wisconsin. So any rebates that are out there, we're going to get those for you. Illinois rebates, national rebates. We're going to find funds. Of course, the village has to come up with funds to do the project as well. But we actually have a finance team that specializes in funding or helping to fund projects like this. So it's not your typical banking relationship. So they go out to lenders that understand performance contracting and know that as long as the village has a budget, as long as they have a budget for what we're doing, then the village puts that money aside, and then each year you're spending less money. You take that same money and you pay the debt off. But you've got the improved system, you've got the better records, you've got the guarantee that it's going to work. But we have a finance team that works with all of our customers to do these kind of things.
So basically, there is a payment forever, pretty much.
No. There's a guarantee for 20 years, and you'll see an Illinois statute reference in the presentation, and it basically says only an ESCO, Energy Services Company, can do this kind of work and guarantee it. We are a certified ESCO. Every company that comes and talks to you about energy-related improvements, they can be, let's say, a consultant, but not every company is an ESCO, and that is a very specific and particular thing. Yes. But no, there's no payment to us in perpetuity. We are paid basically as a construction project. So we're paid initially to get going, mobilization. We're paid during periods of the construction period, and then once everything is done, there's a final payment to us. But we do measurement and verification the entire time of the 20 years. So we do reports to our customers for 20 years that show this is how your system is operating.
Now I'd like to clarify that the 20 years is what the statutes allow you to go up to. My experience around the country is most cases these projects do not necessarily have to go to 20 years. I've seen them as low as 8 years, I've seen them as high as 25 years, depending on which state you're in. And one of the other key questions that you haven't asked, which I'm kind of surprised that sometimes it comes out, is we talk about guarantee and the benefit that comes in. Sometimes constituents of ours, or customers of ours ask us, well, if you drive the savings and there are savings above the term of the annual payment, who gets that extra cash? That's yours. That does not come to us. So if you have a project where the benefit is overdriving the payment, any excess goes back to you. For example, I've had some customers who have a project that will fund in 12 years. I look at it as a home mortgage. You finance for 12 years. Well, if you finance for 14 years, your monthly payment goes down, but you still drive the same benefit. So now that excess allows you to do additional work that you were hoping to get done. So the whole goal for the program that we have is to find the dollars to allow you to do the work that you want to do and allow you to plan for the future.
I have a question. It's my understanding that with Johnson Control, you just gave emphasis on the billing, the lighting, and the meters. That's basically what you talked about in your presentation. However, we have a situation here in Sauk Village where we need infrastructure repair. I'm talking pipes, okay, and fire hydrants and V-box. So what can Johnson Control do for us? And I think it should be done first. Get the funding to fix these things in order for we can go to building lighting and meters. Because it seems like we're doing half or something, but we should be focusing on the pipes in the ground because some of those pipes are really old. So they need to be replaced and repaired, along with the fire hydrants and V-boxes and stuff like that. So,
use the mic, please.
Eric,
So how do you address that?
Eric, I'll let you start addressing it because it's water infrastructure intensive.
Right. One of the key things in these types of projects is we're looking at trying to develop a solution, not just fix one thing. The challenge in the municipality is your municipality. You have multiple parts, and those parts are interdependent upon other things. And one of the key things that's going to drive to repair what you want to repair, the pipes in the ground, the hydrants, the gearboxes, the valves, and other infrastructure pieces, is all that work that needs to be done is funded typically through the enterprise fund, which is driven by the revenues off of your bill. So one of the key things you need to look at is how do you make sure the dollars that you are trying to generate for your enterprise fund is accurate and represents what you need to be doing so you can plan for these repairs. We've done projects where we looked at hydrants, valves, boxes, pipes, gearboxes, and pipes in the ground, and they came from additional tasks, what you're saying, that has been added onto the project that was driven by updating the efficiency of your water system. So to get to where you are asking about, that can be part of the project. The key thing is to define, as we explore where your situation is, what do you want to do, what are the hot buttons, what are the slow, let me rephrase that, short, medium, and long-term goals, and how does that fit into the solutions that we try and develop on your behalf?
And that's ironed out in great detail. Once we're partnered, when we say we think this project, when we start looking in detail, then that's when we're sitting down at the table together and we say, we want you to look at the fire hydrants. You know, my expertise is not in fire hydrants, but that's why Derek is here. So we will look at whatever makes sense to look at. The final project will end up being whatever makes best financial and operational sense for the village. More questions?
Any other questions?
How much does it cost to initially partner with you all?
We're not on public comment yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get that big here.
Any more questions?
Any other questions from the board? Okay. Jeff and Derek, I really appreciate you guys coming out. We will be getting in touch, as you stated, you did talk to our public works director.
Yes.
So we will be getting back and put our heads and then look at overall feasibility, because it's something that is really needed. And as far as the financial part, something the board has to look at and see where it comes in. But I'm thinking that it is, as you stated, at some point in time, we have to upgrade our water meters.
Yeah.
So that has to be taken care of.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Items that will be for presentation, the ordinance for the adopting of the comprehensive plan. That ordinance, I understand, is not, or do you have it? Oh. Okay, well, we're going to pass those out. We have the president. This is the ordinance for the adoption of the comprehensive plan. It has been presented to the board several times.
So yeah, the board took action on the comprehensive plan at its last regular meeting, where it approved the recommendation from the zoning board of appeals. The ordinance merely codifies the action and adopts the plan. That's pretty much what it does. So the ordinance itself is here. I will have a copy of this for you emailed to the village clerk, and then she can send that out to the trustees. And my apologies for that. I thought I said that to you last week, so I apologize.
Okay, all right.
This is a copy.
You can keep that.
I keep.
Okay, that's item number one. Item number two, the presentation from the Enbridge to the board.
Okay, so about a year ago, well, no, you started earlier than that. In 2017, Enbridge came to us wanting to put a valve in one of their lines. In 2018, we had a discussion in a meeting with them. They had a preliminary location on where they were looking to put the valve, and the valve would have been located on Torrance, just east of Torrance Avenue by the railroad tracks, by the CN Railroad. After they took a closer look at that location, it wasn't going to work for them, so they took a look at another location by the North Water Tower. That location seemed to be okay, but after they took an additional look at it, it just didn't make sense. So they found a spot, and I'd like to introduce the folks from Enbridge. If you guys would come on up here. Taylor Smith, if you want to introduce your crew.
Yes, good evening, and thank you for having us. My name is Taylor Smith. I'm a Community Engagement Advisor for Enbridge Energy Company. I'll give an opportunity for my colleagues to introduce themselves as I pass out additional flyers and handouts.
Mike Price with Enbridge, right-of-way supervisor.
I'm Cody Pollard with Enbridge, I'm the project manager.
And I'm Kevin Warner. I'm on the construction management team.
Thank you and good evening. Again, my name is Taylor Smith and I'm a Community Engagement Advisor for Enbridge Energy Company. For those that aren't familiar with Enbridge, Enbridge is North America's premier energy infrastructure company, and we have strategic business platforms that include an extensive network of crude oil, liquids, and natural gas pipelines. The company safely delivers an average of 2.9 million barrels of crude oil each day through its mainline and express pipeline, and accounts for nearly 65% of U.S.-bound Canadian crude oil production. And we also move approximately 20% of all natural gas consumed in the U.S., serving key supply basins and demand markets. So why we're here today, Enbridge has 3 crude oil pipelines in Sauk Village. One of those lines, Line 6A, is a 34-inch diameter crude oil pipeline that originates at Enbridge's Superior Terminal in Superior, Wisconsin, and travels south to Enbridge's Griffith Terminal near Griffith, Indiana. This crude oil that's shipped through the line is used is shipped to local refineries and is used as crucial feedstock for the transportation fuel and everyday items that we rely on. The continued safe operation and maintenance of our pipelines is Enbridge's top priority. As such, as a part of the 2017 consent agreement with federal regulators, Enbridge agreed to a series of precautionary actions that include installing an additional 14 remotely controlled valves across the Enbridge system. These remotely controlled valves are faster to close than manually closed valves and are more highly monitored and secure. So we're here today to let you know that these valves, as mentioned, is in Sauk Village and is near the North Water Tower. And construction will be taking place over the next few months with on-site activity beginning shortly. As of now, the schedule for construction for our valve installation in Sauk Village is expected to be from early May to about mid-August, with June 19th being our system outage date, in which we'll have crews working additional extended hours. As I said, the continued safe operation and maintenance of our pipelines is our top priority, and landowners have been notified, and we are working currently on mitigating construction impacts for landowners and their neighbors. So we want to ensure that you're aware of our construction activity and, of course, entertain any questions that you may have. So I'll stop right here if there's any questions about Enbridge's operations in Illinois and Sauk Village or the project writ large. So as of now, specific dates are tentative, but we're looking at rolling out early May to about mid-August. with June 19th being our system outage date, where we'll probably be running, working day and night, and having additional crews working extended hours. And so public impact of construction activity should just be expected to be additional truck traffic, maybe a little bit of noise. And then when we have the open system on June 19th, there could be some odor, but we're working, as I said, with landowners and the emergency responders in Sauk Village to make sure landowners are notified and we're prepared for any impacts.
Is this the same route that they had from last time? Is this a different route?
Use the mic, please.
Is this a different route? Where is this?
So that's near Wagner School. Correct, yeah. And as Joe mentioned earlier, we're looking at the original placement of the valve is going to be closer to Torrance Avenue near the railroad tracks. But we pick our sites for placing the valve based on constructability, landowner impacts, environmental impacts, and although that Torrance Avenue location was our first choice, after examining a little further, we realized that perhaps that pinpoint on the maps you see before you would be a more practical and safer place to execute construction.
What happens if one of these valves fail?
Yeah, no, very good question. So as a pipeline company that ships liquid through the pipeline, we have strategically placed valves along the line that in the event of an incident, we are able to remotely turn the valves to isolate the line. So the purpose of the valve will be in the event of an incident, we could reduce the flow of any sort of release. So it reduces the impact that, say, like if something struck the line, the valve, having an additional valve in Sauk Village would reduce the flow of product that gets released because we're able to, it's an additional isolation point along the line.
Okay. What about potential impact?
Bernice, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Okay. What about the potential impact, environmental impact on these valves as they go down? Let's say one breaks and we have all this oil out here. So what are we going to do to protect residents here?
Very good question.
Yeah, I can answer that. So these valves are in a regularly open position. So there's nothing, if something was to go wrong with the valve, it's in a fail open position. So it wouldn't have any impact or there would be no leak or anything like that. If the valve, for some reason, lost power or shut down or something happened to it and it couldn't operate, it's in a stuck open position. So there's no impact or danger of anything happening there.
Very good question. There's no other questions. I'll ask just Mike to wrap up anything I missed and talk about a little bit about the displays we have behind you.
Sure. And I'll get into some of what my department in lands and right-of-way, one of our responsibilities is really working with landowner stakeholders. And so in this case, because of the land to the north of the Wagner School is owned by the village, we looked at one of these at this location, and why it was particularly attractive as a second alternative was the space. We have a pretty wide easement through that area. There's enough workspace, for this work to safely occur. And you'll see on this is the best map that we could have. And let's take a look. We have an aerial that showed the placement of the valve, to the north of the school in the open area. Another responsibility of my department is to, where we have the easement rights to install these, great, we would. But in some cases, we have to acquire additional rights. While we have existing easement rights to install, it's always nice to have a little extra room. And so, working with the village, and I apologize, I know the board has the map in front of you with the yellow box on it. There is Enbridge-owned property. We have 12 acres or almost 13 acres of land that we own. In discussions with Joe and the village, frankly, it's adjacent to village-owned land. You guys can put it to much better word use, and as a consideration for any of the working space, that was part of our discussions. And in addition, widening the easement a bit from 37 feet to 60 feet to accommodate the valve. Another benefit of this project is we noticed that from scouting out this location, the condition of the baseball fields, the baseball diamonds, and as part of our work, we widened our workspace to accommodate and all the fields, which were in the process of being taken down, and our crews will expand our footprint to take the rest of the fencing and some of the dugouts that are being removed, and take care of that for the village. I guess, yeah, any questions at this point?
Sir, what impact would this have on the actual school children during this?
Use the mic, please.
So what impact would this have on the school children from Wagner School? That's actually a good question. Why we included some of these other photos of actual locations that we've installed. Our standard valve site would be a chain link fence with all the facilities inside. In some of these examples, we put some more decorative ones up there, but it is contained. All the hazardous areas inside around the equipment is contained. And, we do have, I guess I had, maybe guys quoted kind of maybe security measures we might have.
Well, during construction, I don't see any impact. It's during the summer, so I believe the kids will be out of school. But also, we do have, at this location, we'll have 24-hour security there, making sure there's nobody coming in and off the sites that aren't authorized. It's a pretty sensitive area, especially that June 19th date when you have the open system. It's really time sensitive. There's a lot of people working there, so we do have security on site, making sure nobody's just walking.
About the noise?
There's not, it's a lot of welding and there's a minimal amount of cutting, but really you're moving things around with cranes. It's not hammering and sawing and woodwork, right? There'll be a few days over the 2 months spotted throughout where you're going to have some metal cutting, but it's not going to be overly loud and it'll only be an hour or two at a time, so I wouldn't think it would be too impactful there.
As far as noise too, that's one thing that my group for the landowners who might be around that area, we will meet with them all in advance of the work so we can adjust what their concerns might be. That includes all the residents along Jeffrey Avenue. That's going to be our access route. Working with Joe, we're putting together a communication letter that we can mail out to all those residents. But then also the folks that are really close around this area, we'll meet with them and try to assess their situation.
You indicated that the baseball field is going to be widened. The easeway is going to be widened.
The easement that we have would be widened.
Now, the easement has to be, but how do we get extra width, or what happens with that? What I'm looking at is, what is the financial benefits to the village? Are we going to get any kind of return? Because we said you're going to do something with the baseball field, so can you elaborate on that?
Okay. First thing with the easement. The easement is a particular width. Right now, it's 37 feet. We'd like to widen that to 60. Okay. So the additional width, there's value there. In calculating based on property value, we're still working out some of the numbers before we get those over to Joe. But we calculated the additional easement area to be approximately about $24,000. For properties where we don't maybe have the rights to install a valve, we use 25,000 as a lump sum. In this case, we actually do have the existing rights if we were to stay within our existing easement. We included that as well. So it brings it to about $50,000 approximately. With the value of the Enbridge property, the FEMA property, 12.8 acres, using $9,000 an acre roughly for vacant agricultural land. It's about approximately 115,000.
So we're gonna get approximately 115,000, you said, if we went.
Minus the amount owed for the
We can't
project.
hear you, but that's okay.
Minus would be $50,000. It'd be approximately, again, a $65,000 amount that would be of value, which would be essentially a donation to the village.
Okay, so you guys are gonna fix the vault?
We didn't calculate how much that might cost and what value is in that, but there's surely something in there for the manpower of the project team to remove all that.
To talk loud enough so people can hear, we would probably get about $65,000 for widening the whip, or are we gonna get something else?
We're going to be donating the land.
Oh, and you'll be.
But the land, the value of the land is about $115,000.
Oh, okay, we got it. Okay, so we don't monitor, we just claim.
Correct.
Okay.
And
I know it's monitor.
well, and what Joe is referring to, just to make sure that after everything's restored, sometimes there might be just some maybe potholes that have formed along the road, or maybe there's some need to water, some of the seed that we had left, for restoration. Minor settlement here and there. We agreed to a $10,000 payment following at the end of the project.
Any other questions?
Thanks again for having us this evening.
Okay, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you once again.
Just as one final note, there's an ordinance here that the attorney gave to me this evening. Again, I'll be forwarding that to the village clerk. I literally just got it about 6:15 tonight. So the ordinance would be or resolution would be to accept the donation of the land and to enter into the agreement with that which to do.
Okay, so you want this placed on the agenda?
For next week, yeah.
This particular resolution?
Correct.
Okay.
Excuse me, one more question. How many houses is going to be affected for the land that we're talking about? I know school is going to be affected, but how many homes,
Affected by construction nuisances. Really, the ones right adjacent, one or two.
Just one or two?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Trustees, you have a chance to look this over. You have a week, or virtually 6 days. Basically what this is an agreement to accept parcel of land transferred to the village, 12.8 acres to the village, and have the village give Enbridge a 60-foot wide easement of that parcel. And also Enbridge will contribute $10,000 to the village as an impact fee. If there's any other questions, yes.
So back to the baseball field. So if they're gonna remove that, be demolished. So what are we gonna actually? So we're gonna have another field there.
We have several fields. This is just one.
So just one of them. One of the, I think it's 3 or 4.
I think it's the one that's right behind.
They're going to do all 3.
They're gonna remove all.
So they're gonna level all of that out, clean all of that out. So we'll have basically what was intended in the original plan for the OSLAD grant. All of that will be cleared, leveled, and graded.
You said all 3 fields, but to go back, Osmond grant, we lost about $80,000 for that particular grant. So how much would it cost to get these other 3 ball fields up to par? What are we going to get the money for that? I know you just said we're going to get $10,000, so we're talking 3 baseball fields. Do we have any idea how much it's going to cost to do 3 baseball fields, or where we're going to get the money?
That would be a question for the village engineer. They did do preliminary work on that, and there was design and plans on that they would have. So I would imagine they would have some cost estimates. There's also a walking path that was originally agreed to in that. The walking path goes into the Enbridge right-of-way that we would be granting them, and they're going to allow us to continue to use that right-of-way. So if they were to have to dig that path up, they would actually have to fix it for us, as they agreed to.
Would somebody ask, will this affect our water?
Again, when we get to public comments, ma'am, I'm sure.
It won't be here, sir.
So you do have the resolution in front of you, like I stated before. If there's any questions or anything that you'd like clear with, please inform us. We can get in touch with Enbridge. And we can put this on the agenda for next week.
Mr. Mayor, is there any way we could get Robinson Engineering to come in and talk to us about the financial aspects of how we're going to do 3 baseball fields, you know, where the money's going to come from? Is there any way they could offer up some ideas? Because we know we're going to get 3 baseball fields that have to be level, let's say, or whatever. But maybe Robinson Engineer could tell us a way, because you talked about the design features that would, like, you know, have a minimum financial impact on us. You know, I'm not quite sure.
I'm not understanding.
Okay.
You said,
Well,
what are you
I'm
saying?
trying to find out, okay, we're going to get just $10,000 for the 3 baseball fields. Okay, for the, you know, design of the baseball field. The design on 1 baseball field for the Arrowhead Park costs about $30,000. So something's, you know.
Okay, what they're going to do is come in at a level. If you've been over there lately, you saw that it's very hilly and it hasn't been touched in quite a while. Grass is high and everything else. They're going to come level that out. That has nothing to do with the Osland. Osland grant was actually, they had a landscape was supposed to come in and he made a bid and his bid was, he didn't honor his bid basically.
Well,
and so now what only thing Enbridge is going to do is come over there where that's at, excavate that land and move on. They're not going to put anything in there. They're not going to add any little park, like they were trying to add a little park over there. All they're going to do is that. The money that they're going to donate and contribute to the village has nothing to do with that. That has something to do with the roads that they're going to be driving up and down Jeffrey or whatever. If there's anything that has to be done, as was stated before when they did it, got about 4 or 5 years ago, when they came in and did the big project right behind that particular area, they came in and they did that. That was like 2 weeks. They gave us money for all the traffic going back and forth for that particular period of time. It was 24 hours, I think, for 2 weeks. They were there 24 hours every day, and they had our police department and doing the security. This is just a gesture that they're giving us the land. They're going to actually come and excavate the property, and the money that they're giving us is not earmarked for those parks. So don't think that it's earmarked for that particular project. It's to help pay and defray the cost that the equipment coming on the streets would disrupt. We can use that to fix that. That's basically what that is. Am I correct? I mean, these guys sitting right here. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, that if you wanted us to, we could leave the ball fields there, but they're in pretty rough shape.
No, we want you to estimate.
We thought it'd be a good gesture.
We want you to knock it down. That gives us a chance to at least get a clean landscape.
Yeah, and then you can do with it what you
Yes.
will, but we thought it'd be nice just to clear it all out before you get over it all.
Since you got your excavating equipment there, you
It'd
can
be
move it on.
cheaper and more effective for us to
Absolutely.
do it while we're there, for sure.
Well, I probably need to rephrase my question that I need to know. I understand that Enbridge is going to clean all that stuff out, but my concern is that we have 3 baseball fields that have to be repaired or whatever. You know, I guess I'm going on to the next thing. Where are we going to get the money to fix that. It's not, this idea I would like to, look at, that's what I'm saying,
So
we have
you
three,
said you want to find out, you want to ask Robinson Engineering to come and do a study?
well, I don't know, just what's is needed. I know we need the baseball fields or whatever, so I'm just saying, how would we go about to go further than, Enbridge has gotten us the money to clean out the field, so the next step is to what? We have all this empty space over there.
Okay,
So, I mean, it's another issue.
we do have a study that was done by Robinson Engineering back then. No, it was for that whole area. It wasn't for one field, it was for that whole area. They were going to put a walk path in, they were going to put, I'm sorry, it was in there to put a walk path, not they, Robinson wasn't putting anything in. To put a walk path in, to upgrade the baseball fields, and to also put a small playground in there. All that whole study has been done, it's on paper, and it's right there. So only thing Enbridge is going to do is basically come out and grade that down for us, make it more presentable at the particular time, and hopefully if we come up with some more money somewhere or whatever, that can happen. But right now, they're going to come in and do that, level it out, and make it more sightly in that area. So, okay, so we'll have this particular resolution on the agenda next week. Like I stated before, if there's anything that anybody has any questions, please come and let us know. The next item is a discussion of variance approved by the Zoning Board of Appeals and Planning Department for the Lenny's Gas and Wash on Sauk Trail right there by 394. This is, I guess this is going to be Zoning Board of Appeals recommendation for what they were, what Lenny's Gas and Wash was asking to do, correct?
That's correct, Mr. So there were 3 variance requests by Mr. McHenry and Gas and Wash. ZB 1903-1, 2, and 3. So there should be 3 separate items in your packets. The first one is a variance for a ground monument sign. So the regulations are that the maximum height could not have been more than 6 feet. The height of the cabinet is at 7.6 feet, and the overall height of the sign is at 11.2 feet. And that's the monument sign, so if you can picture the entryway over on Sauk Trail, right off of the 394 entrance where they're doing the entrance at now, that would be just to the immediate west of that entrance. So that would be the ground monument sign. So the other item is the pole sign. So the ground pole sign, maximum height for that within M2 zone is 20 feet. They requested a variance because of the elevation difference in the highway to 35 feet. The maximum square footage of the sign was at 200 square feet. The maximum sign of the actual sign size is at 256. So it's 56 square feet more than what's permitted and 15 feet higher than what was permitted. The other item here is for the ground pole sign. The setback requirement from the property line is 10 feet, and because of kind of jogging in there, they're going to go to 8 feet. And the zoning board approved all 3 of these unanimously at the meeting.
Okay, so then you're asking the board to vote on their recommendations for next week?
That's correct. So the approval would grant the variances that they've requested.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, this will be on the agenda for next week at the board meeting. All right, the next item is public comment. All questions and comments shall be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the business of the village Each speaker will allow one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes. They may not engage in debate or counter discussion. I will ask all the questions.
The storyboards will be available if any of the trustees wish to see them. They'll be in my office. I'll leave them out here for tonight for the public to look at as well.
Okay, as I was stated, I'll answer the questions at the end. Unless someone stated I won't answer, I won't answer. I'll try to attempt to answer all the questions at the end. Please state your name when you come up.
My questions may or may not make any sense, but I wanted to know, has village control research, so to speak, been done regarding, what the gentleman said could possibly occur or whatever during this construction? In other words, I want to know, has the village, the village engineers or whoever, researched what they're talking about doing to find out what real impact that it may have upon us? The other thing I wanted to know is, I believe from what I'm hearing that this is close to our source of water, and I'm concerned about some source of contamination, and if it does or should occur, who would be responsible? And this is a big question. And what would be the result of that? I mean, let me see. The other thing, the safeguards. He did mention that there would be an odor or something, but to me, when there's an odor, that also means that there's residue. So, bearing that in mind, would this be damaging our properties? Would it harm us as far as breathing it? I'm pause right there, let you write it down because I threw on my answers. And the last thing I wanted to know, during this construction and whatever that's going on, will the village have some type of representation here to monitor what's going on, to like protect us? I mean, no offense, but I live here, so that's the end of my questions.
Judy Gastier, I would like to know what legal group Mike Marovich is connected with. He is an attorney that's working with the police contract. Secondly, I would like to know about the FOIAs. Again, I had 3 FOIAs. All 3 of them were asking for a 5-day extension, only to get a letter saying the documents you have requested do not exist. So why did it take 5 extra days to say that? And then we can't get a copy of the FOIA done at the front desk anymore. We have to do our own. Yet you've got 2 pieces of paper here, plus the envelope, plus the postage, to tell me that there is no paperwork, which to me is a lie. It is impossible for you to hire somebody and put them in place, and you don't have an application, you don't have a resume, you can't tell us anything about this person. I'm sorry, that paperwork does exist unless it's been shredded. The third thing I want to talk about is to you, Derek, and to Grant. I have a big issue with the fact that...
Excuse me, Ms. Cass.
I'm sorry?
Excuse me, let me try to, because I've seen this happen more once. I'm trying to address that right now.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to address the fact that when you call me Derek, I am the mayor. You can say Mr. Burgess or whatever, but when you call me Derek, to me it feels like it's a disrespect. So I'm asking that you at least call me Mr. Burgess.
Mr. Burgess, I
or the mayor,
apologize.
either one.
I apologize.
Because we're not on that, obviously we're not on that type of, I appreciate
Okay,
it. Thank
Mr.
you.
Burgess
Okay,
and
thank you.
Mr. Grant, I have an issue with the fact that our interim financial director said that we have a $2 million deficit, and I'd like to know, in the 2 years that you've been sitting there with all the degrees, and I understand a master's degree, Mr. Grant, why this wasn't picked up by you and your committee prior to the interim financial director bringing it up to us. We've asked in FOIAs about various different things. We can't get answers. And yet this man is in here for a short period of time and comes up with some very disturbing news. And I don't understand how we can have people committed to a committee and what have you, and a mayor, and yet we're not aware that we're that deep in debt. And I think the residents deserve answers to that.
Pat Couch. I have some handouts I'd like to give to the board, if I might.
Come on.
I'm presenting these documents because I'm a little upset, and maybe when you see what they are, you will be upset. Are you ready, Margaret? Yeah. Did I short one? Okay. Pat Couch. Okay.
Just so that you know, I stopped, I paused it when you started passing this out. When we got back here, I started.
I'll try to go fast.
2 minutes and 41 seconds.
Okay. I'm presenting this document because I am a little upset with what it contains. I posted an item on Facebook that reads, "Those who think there is a time limit when grieving has never lost a piece of their heart." And most people here know that I lost my son 5 years ago, almost. And at that time, there was an item put on Facebook regarding my son by, I won't mention the name, but a family member of someone sitting here, that said, Mommy, it's hot down here. Can you save me?" Now, on Sunday, Palm Sunday, I got into my email and I found an item that is from an Erica LaShawn that says, and I quote, "You disrespectful, racist, fat, sloppy pig, your fat ass, sloppy ass, got the nerve to post someone, you fat, sloppy beast, I got you." That's number one. And that was on Palm Sunday. I get another one that says, from Erica LaShawn, "Carissa Stone, your bitch ass mother," and I will not say those words, "Daddy looks like a stuffed piece of shit." To me, from Erica LaShawn, "Pat Couch, don't you got better shit to do, like contact the devil so you can speak to your son?" Also, there is a picture of a posting that was presented back some time ago from Joseph Wizawati, where he posted a picture of my home on Facebook, and he said, and I quote, "Really? Fat Crotch's house." I've been called worse by better. Another post was made by a friend of his, and look how nice the property is. When Joe took this picture, you can see right into the front window. Someone's living room lamp is on. And then Mr. Wizawati posted, bet he was trying to get a picture through her window of her nasty panties. And we have no control over social media, which we have a social media policy. And I hope someday, someplace, somebody takes that to heart.
And a real mayor who does something about it. I hope he's embarrassed. Should say whoever Sean is. And I have copies if anybody like it. Say whoever Sean is.
This here is totally disgusting. I guess everybody see that. Whatever, this here, whoever wrote it. It's totally disgusting. Whoever did it should be very ashamed.
Can't hear you. Use the microphone.
Whoever wrote this should be very ashamed of themselves. Whoever wrote it. But I'm here to speak to Mr. Grant and the board. I approached him when you all were first elected. And I went to him and I stated, this was before you all had even did a budget. I spoke to him and I told him that you all were in debt. And the reason why I could say that you were in debt, because my husband looked at your pages, looked at the money that was going in and coming out. And here we are today, $2 million in debt. But the voting is my problem. We've been voting on stuff that should have never been voted on. We don't have the money in the village. The lies that have been told. It's a sad shame that we still have 4 people constantly voting on the same stuff every week. And now knowing that we are totally in debt. And people are in good position jobs. They should have been able to figure some of this stuff out too. But I went to the person myself, so if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to say anything. But I could say it because my husband was a hell of a financial man. And I could say that 100%. So what I'm saying is that the 4 that voted on all the stuff that you voted on, you need to go back from day 1 and look at what you totally voted on, knowing now that we're $2 million in debt. If I could, I had a thing when I came here to Sauk Village to do better. I was going to buy some more homes. My husband told me if I do, he'll die a second time. I had my thoughts here for my grandkids on the side we live on. But that won't happen. But when it comes to money, I hope you all understand. Some people in the village are not as stupid as you may think. Look at the money and find out where it really truly is. I'm not blaming just you all. We got to look ahead of you, and now we're going to have to look in back of you.
Good evening. My name is Darnell and Watson. Darnell Watson, yes. How you doing? How you doing, Mr. Mayor?
Okay.
Mine is real brief. It's just about support. There's only 2 houses on the corner of Cornell right off of 394. And I'm in that second house. It's the only one that's occupied at the time, right next to the car lot. And I've been there for 6 years and I've been asking for support with the fact that IDOC owned the property next to me where the trees are. And they fallen on my gate, knocked it down. I've came here numerous times, everybody giving me numbers to IDOC. I built my pool in the backyard. And the guy who was digging my dirt, he dumped it on that property because it's dirt, so he threw it over there. I had somebody in the village complain to me about doing it. So, for them to complain to me about dumping dirt on IDOC's property, Why ain't they trying to support me and say something I ain't got with that tree that's keep falling on my property? I'm getting no support at all, and I've been back and forth for years. The second quick thing is I was asking if anybody can try and reach out to IDOC as well as trying to put a barricade wall right there. Because of all that trucks that rolls through there to that light on 394, all you hear is the air braking. Due to the fact that now they're building a big wash over there, I can imagine how much more noise is going to come through there. So basically, that's all I'm asking for, is just the support, that somebody reach out to them to try and do something about the trees that are already falling. As you can ride past right now, they laying all on the side, you'll see them. You know, and about the fact of trying to get some type of barricade. Anywhere else on the expressway you see, when they have houses that close to the expressway, they got walls. And there's only 2 houses right there, but there's nothing right there for it. And that's it.
Debbie Williams. I'm sure that you're all aware by now that the contracts approved by trustees Zupan, Carter, Tates, and Grant last Friday overwhelmingly exceed the requirement that severance pay provided not exceed an amount greater than 20 weeks of compensation, according to the Illinois State Statute 5 ILCS 415-10, Section 10. Questions? Will these contracts be revised and brought back before the board to vote again? Will other dedicated, hardworking employees that need to be protected see the same type of contract before the new board is sworn in? I'm referring to Kevin Weller and Sue Dobesnicki. Is it true that the HR director is currently working to eliminate all union jobs that fall under the steelworkers and office and technical contract and contract out those jobs with full or part-time non-union employees? Is it true that this cost the village money if this is true? Will grievances be filed by the union employees, and will board charges be filed by this union? Is it true that we already are faced with this exact situation because the village replaced union administrative jobs with full and part-time non-union employees? Is it true that these same union employees agreed to no raises in recent negotiations due to the financial situation of the village? Is it true that in the past 2 years, more grievances have been filed by these union employees than in the last 20 years in total? Is it true that in an attempt to save attorney fees and negotiation, Dr. Strouder has paid $85 per hour for 10 hours for every week since July of 2018, but an attorney is still present in these negotiations? Is it true that the trustees sitting on the dais with you are most likely not aware of what I'm referring to? Just like they were not aware that they violated an Illinois state statute when they awarded those contracts last week. Where's the open and transparent government? Where is the integrity? When will your board, much less the residents and the staff, know that your goal all along is to fire all of the dedicated, hardworking employees that have survived several administrations and to replace all union employees with outside contractors? Just curious how many union employees currently living and voting in Sauk Village believe that this is a path to progress. I know you don't talk about personnel in the open by name, but many of my questions are general in nature, so I would like a response. We have the right to know. If you need my notes, I'd be glad to turn them over. And as far as Enbridge, I was just wondering, the working hours, will they be before 5 o'clock? Your work will shut down for the residents in the area? And will those ball fields ever come to life again? I raised 2 kids in Sauk Village, and I spent a lot of time in those ball fields. And boy, I miss those days. And I know there's a lot of parents that are here right now that wish they had those days. Thank you for your time.
Mary Escobedo. Yeah, I'm here again to talk about social media. Those things that were put on Facebook is awful. Those people had to be demons to write that.
That is really crazy. And Derek, you should be doing something about that, and you won't, which is really sad. So for you to say you're the mayor, a mayor leads. You're not leading, you're being led. You're being let somebody tell you what to do. Because I've been in the back. I know you don't know what you're doing. And I know you're listening to people telling you what to do. And your trustees, by voting with you, are not helping the residents. As you see, they are out. So next, you might be out. And just want to remind all of you about karma, because I know that some of you have had some karma, but it's not through with you yet. It's coming to get you more, because you all have been hurting people in the village. And you, Derek, said you were going to help people in the village, but you're not doing anything that you said, except you did say that you were going to get rid of everybody in the village that have been working here for years, and you have done that. So you need to start doing something for the residents, because again, the residents put you there, and the residents could take you out. And we're going to do that. Because I sure will be going along talking to everybody, especially to Deer Creek, because we know all of you, there's like 3 of you in here from Deer Creek, and none of you come in reporting when there's lights out or anything. Derek, you have been a trustee for how many years? And all those years, you never came in and told Kevin Weller there was a light out, he should go. You didn't do anything for the residents of Deer Creek, and you ain't doing so. If you don't care about your own neighborhood, you sure ain't caring about the rest of Sauk Village. That's it for today. Could I be back?
Okay, try to answer some of these questions as far as what Enbridge is doing. Yes, there will be people monitoring, our public works will be monitoring their process as they're here. As long as anyone comes in and does anything like that, our public works does monitor that. As was spoken about the smell of gas, that could be when they open the pipe up. Is there anything harmful? EPA is not going to let that happen. I'm sure they're going to be involved in it too. So Enbridge is a big corporation. They're not going to make themselves susceptible to any type of infraction in any community. So I'm sure this is not their first time they dealt with municipalities or anything to this nature. So I don't see if there should be any problems, but there will be checking, there will be inspections, and there will also be testing done in the air to make sure that there's nothing that's going to be transferred. Mike Maravich works for the LAP group. I was asking about that. As far as the FOIAs, not given a copy of the FOIAs, I have to look at that. I'm not sure why you would hand something in and ask for a copy, but I will ask, and I'll look into that part, that if you handed a FOIA in, that you don't get a copy of it. I would think that you would have a copy when you hand it in, but that shouldn't be a problem. It depends on if the FOIA is over a certain amount of pages, but if it's just 1 or 2 pages, I don't see why there should be a problem with that. The $2 million in debt, as was stated before, did you want to address that? Okay. Did you want to address it? Okay. The wall on 394, and first of all, the tree that's right there on Cornell Avenue. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'm going to take a ride over there tomorrow. I don't know where exactly IDOT takes over, where the village does it, but I do understand where you're talking about. And as far as putting the wall on 394, that's been asked about many, many years, even before I even became a trustee. And I was told then, and I'm talking about over 10 years ago, that the wall, IDOT doesn't put a wall up unless they do major construction down the highway. Because it was asked about before when they resurfaced 394, why couldn't they do it then? Because the wall is $1 million per mile to put that wall up. So at that time, the village, this was 18, 15 years ago, didn't have the money to do it then, but it was asked why IDOT couldn't do it. And right now, they have a wall right there, and I can understand what you're saying. Traffic goes up and down 394 all the time. And there's a lot of traffic that goes up there, and they do make a lot of noise, and you hear a lot of horns and stuff. But I'll tell you, the village doesn't have the money to put a wall up. We tried to talk to IDOT, that's who owns that particular highway and maintains it, and they haven't, I haven't heard anything. I've asked about that, even since I've been there, asked if they do something, and they told us unless it's major construction. Well, we have a lot of people that do complain about the noise, and is there anything they can do about it? The question and the comment that was made that I'm trying to get rid of union workers, I don't know where that came from. I was a union worker for all the time that I had a job. Matter of fact, I retired from the union. So to say that I'm against the union workers is not true. And they're saying that this particular contract is costing the village money. I don't see how the contract would cost the village money unless someone wanted to make that contract active. Only way that contract is active is someone wants to get rid of that particular position. So at this particular point in time, the people that are working, as you can see, and you saw in the contract, are making less money than what the people that actually was working in the union. But to get rid of, to say I'm getting rid of the union is not true, and I'm just saying that for the record, that I'm not getting rid of the union. I'm not getting rid of the union. Those particular people, the people that left here in the village, they left on their own. They resigned. They weren't pushed out. They resigned. They asked, one person asked me, told me on a Tuesday he was leaving Friday. I mean, that's what they thought about the village at the time. That I'm going to leave, that whatever it is, I'm gone Friday. Here's my notice Tuesday. The other person did give us a 2-week notice. But they resigned. They were never pushed out. They were never fired, the people that were in the union. And social media, I mean, and that being said, that's all that I have to answer. Any comments from the Board of Trustees? Trustee Grant? Yes.
All right. So, I think Ms. Cass, Ms. Richardson, she back there? Yeah. All right. So, just want to kind of explain this, and is Mr. French back there too? So, just in case I say anything wrong, please correct me. So, Mr. French brought the $2 million number up, I believe, last week at one of the meetings. So what he's saying is, so there's a $2 million deficit in the general fund. However, that is from the time, I believe his numbers were from the time period of 2014 to 2018. So what that means is, in the years of 2014 and 2018, our expenses exceeded our revenue. I'm gonna just put this in like layman's terms. So we say we're going to bring in $100, but we actually spent $200. So that means we were $100 in the hole. That's year one. Year two, we said we're going to spend $200. We spent $400. We're $200 more in the hole again. So that $200 that year plus the year one, it compounds. So yes, we are $2 million in the hole, but that's not in 1 year. I don't want people to think that's 1 year. That's the average of 4 years continuously, our expenses exceeding our revenue. So how does that happen? That happens because the accuracy of what we think the revenue are going to be and the expenses are not correct. So that falls on the department heads, because ultimately that's the department head's responsibility to correctly assume how much money we will bring in and spend. Does that kind of make sense? Does it kind of help out a little bit? So, For example, the 2018 audit that was just completed was from May 1st of 2017 to April 30th, 2018. This board's first year in office. When we see those financials, we will be able to tell whether we have gotten any better or worse than previous years when it comes to expenses exceeding our revenue. But we do know in past years, 2014 through 2018, or through 2017, that our expenses exceeded our revenue, therefore we are in a deficit. So therefore that we said that we wanted to have a surplus in this year's budget, but that didn't happen because our expenses exceeded our revenue. So I don't want people to think that, oh, $2 million hold as of right now. Yes, that's as of right now, but that's compounded over the course of numerous fiscal years for the village, not just 1 year. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, I got what you said, but y'all gonna be in the hole again because if you go downtown, y'all gonna find out people ain't paying their taxes.
Well, I mean, no, that's a valid point. So therefore, year over year, now, if I remember this correctly based on what I remember reading, our property taxes that we collect is one of the main sources of revenue for the village. Therefore, I believe it was flat to last year, but however, we're not seeing a huge increase because people aren't paying their property taxes as they were the previous year. So let's just say year one, we collected $2 million, just throwing this out there. Year one, $2 million. Let's say year two, we might collect $1.9 million. Year three, 1.8. So we have seen somewhat of a decrease in property taxes being collected from the village because residents aren't paying. So as property taxes are the main source of revenue for the village, that hurts us because we expect to receive a certain amount of money, but yet if residents don't pay, we can't control that. So therefore, sure, go ahead.
What you say makes sense.
Use the mic.
My problem is that you've been there 2 years.
Okay.
And it took 2 years to find all this out?
No, I wouldn't say it take 2 years to find this out. So this audit that was just done was from May 1st of 2017 to April 30th of 2018. Our first year in office. You know we're behind. So we're actually right now, we should be ending our second fiscal year and we haven't even started that audit yet. So we always knew we were behind, and I believe these are things that the previous two finance directors were uncovering for us and saying, but this information has always been available via the audit that's available to the public.
We didn't get anything on the audit, the previous audit. We just heard about an audit today.
Okay, so this audit is from our year one in office. So as you've been waiting, we've been waiting too. Because we want to see, have we been doing a better job? Which is the reason why I asked a question earlier to, I think, Sue, her name, with the deficiencies. Are we doing better than previous years? So we've been waiting on this too, because I want to see, have we been doing better when it comes to projecting our revenues and our expenses? This will be going on our third year. So now, so when we get done with the 2019 audit, I want to see, okay, what have we been doing? How are we getting better or are we getting worse? We should be getting better because we have put numerous procedures and policies in place that should correct some of these issues. Do you mind if I take all these questions? I don't mind.
Frank, I've been hard on you because you've got an education that can't be beat. And with all the times that you sit there and you say you met with Mr. Mohan or you met with Mr. Finch, and you come out here and you don't have any information for us. We have provided FOIAs, we have begged to know exactly where we are. Where is our money? We've got a trustee that can't get answers on finances. That's not right. And I blame you because of your knowledge, your education. You've got what it takes and you're not using it.
So,
not to me, you're not using it.
Okay, so let me just answer that. So information via FOIA, I can't control that. If you put a FOIA in, you put a FOIA in. So what I'm presenting to you are, we should have a budget where we stand versus the budget versus the actuals. That's what we should be presenting to every 3 months, in my opinion, to the residents and where we stand. So therefore, that we don't get into a situation where we're 6 months into the new year, and then, for example, the police department, we're saying, oh, police department salaries look pretty high. I think we're going to exceed our budget. So yes, we should be having those discussions. I agree. However, working with the staff that we have, there's been a lot of turnover, and there's been a lot of things that have not been completed via, as far as bank reconciliation, so that we know exactly where we stand. So I don't want to sit up here and tell you, yes, we're this number in the hole, and that's not really true. Like, I don't want to give you false information, but if you ask me, I'll tell you, okay, this is where we stand. Last week, the finance director gave all of the trustees this document here, and pretty much what the document says is from 2014 through 2018, it gives us what the auditors said that we projected, what we brought in revenue expenses, and what the previous finance director said that we would expect to receive revenue and expect to spend. There's a big variance between these numbers, between what the auditor said and between what the previous finance director said. Which means that, to me, it tells me that somebody wasn't accurately forecasting the numbers. Okay? So, it's not that I don't have information to give you. I don't want to present to you wrong information unless I know it's correct. I think like Mr. French says all the time, he doesn't want to give you anything he doesn't know about, which I feel the same way. I don't want to tell you something that's not true. That's just, I really don't. You can use it against me, and I don't want that to happen. Any other questions about finances? You're welcome. Sherry, do you have anything?
Well, I have something. Wait, I want to know why would you vote on or approve these financial decisions that you all are making without the proper data?
Wait, so every week, so we have an accounts payable. Okay, I'm sorry, every 2 weeks we have an accounts payable. To not approve an accounts payable, to me, in my opinion, is saying, I have to ask myself, why would I not? If these are just expenses that the villages have spent, why would we not pay those expenses? What are we holding on to them for? In 2017, I believe, we had an aging report of, I believe, $1 million. $1 million. As of now, we have an aging report that's down to $13,000, $14,000. That's a big difference. Big difference. So, why would I not pay? If somebody worked there 80 hours, if we want to get a oil change at Jiffy Lube, if we want to go buy fuel from whoever, why would I not pay those bills? Honestly, if I have a bill, if my light bill comes in, why would I not pay it? These are not expenses that are just frivolous. These are not expenses that are just made up out there. These are expenses that somebody turned into the village because we owe them money. So we pay the bills. I don't see a problem with paying our bills.
Yes, you do. Okay, if you have that small an amount that's in outstanding bills, is that money coming from the water fund? Since we're $2 million in the hole, are we funding everything to the water fund?
No.
The other thing is, why would you approve those contracts if we don't have any money that you approved last week?
Okay. So, in regards to the water fund, so on accounts payable, every 2 weeks we have expenses related to the water department, whether it's water, whether it's sewer. Those expenses are allowed to come from the water fund because they are water-related expenses.
But is that all you're paying, or are you paying the whole accounts payable?
No. Every week we approve the accounts payable in whole. So if the accounts payable is for $300,000, we pay $300,000 in accounts payable. So it's nothing wrong with using money for the water fund to pay water-related
Is
expenses.
it being paid back?
Excuse me. The portion of this agenda is supposed to be comments and questions from the trustees.
We understand.
And you did respond to a question as you said that you would. Now let's move on.
Okay, well that's it. I hope I cleared some things up. If you have any questions, please see me afterward. I don't mind answering any questions.
Appreciate that.
Trustee Zupa.
Just want to remind everybody, Chat with the Chief is this Thursday right here at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Trustee Brewer.
Let me give you some insight on what I think has been happening. with finances since I've been here. I got elected to office of May of 2017. Now, the first budget that we addressed, the budget actually stated, whoever drafted it, and I do believe it was you, Mayor, said it was unrealistic. That tells you right then that there was a problem. That was the first thing that came out of that budget. The second thing is that the audits haven't been on the website that long. You don't have any audits up there. They might have them up there now. I haven't looked, but you know, they weren't up there. And all this time, since I've been here, I've been asking, who transferred the money? Somebody's been transferring that money. It wasn't trustees. Somebody's been moving that money around without telling us. You know, we as trustees are supposed to watch the money. When money's moving in and out of here, we're supposed to know about it. Money has been moved in and out of here, we don't know where it's gone. And that's the truth. From May of 2017, from August of 2018, we have been asking for financial data. Can't get it. Since Mohan left, we haven't get it. Only somebody gave us some information was Finch when he came in. I'm sorry, Mr. Finch, to be realistic. And he told you last week, we don't understand what happened before he got here. The interim director just said that. So why are they trying to whitewash it? You guys got to know that this stuff is not right. Second thing is that the employee, yes, I think she should be paid, but if she's not approved by the board of trustees, she shouldn't get a dime. The person who I'm talking about, every week I brought it up, she was never approved by the board. That's illegal. So they sit here whitewashing you, they're not telling you what time it is. There's no reason why we should be $2.2 million in the hole. We don't know where that money is. We got a balance of a little over $324,000 now. When we first looked at it, we had like $2.6 million. What happened to all that money? We understand we got to pay their employees and also bills, but I'm asking for a detailed ledger, and I'm asking for it, since I don't know where Mr. Finch is working on it. We need to know the details on how did we get down to $324,000, or a little over there and stuff. My question is, we paying all this money for water, we not getting any goods and services for it. You still can't use the water. Infrastructure is still broke. You still need fire hydrants. So we need to go back and re-look at what's going on and get a true pictures of what's going on. It's not until Mr. Finch comes that we finally find out that some of our money is gone. Some of that money has been transferred to where? We don't know. Trustees don't know. No trustee up here to tell you where that money went. If we know, they need to tell us, at least tell me. And that's the end of my report.
Trustee Todd?
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of comments. One of them is when we do the committee on the whole, we get presented with stuff and we have no chance to go over it except when we're sitting here. So, as an example, the audit. You said it's been here since March. We should have had that so we could review it and ask questions. It's very hard to review it while you're sitting here reading it and trying to hear the presentation. But that's just a suggestion. The second comment I have, I was reviewing one of the contracts for the HR, and throughout the contract it says $85, but in the severance it says $105. Why is there a difference in the amount? Because through the thing it says 85, but it gets the severance it says 105. Why is there a difference? And that's my comment.
Trustee Carter. Just so you know, everybody else understand, today was unusual. I did allow questions from the trustees to go back and forth with the audience, but that's not going to happen. It's just this one particular time there was questions, and we were dealing with the finances, and we were trying to get it straight. As far as the contract, trustee on top, it stated, everything on the contract states is if you get rid of the person. If you fire or eliminate that position, those contracts will go into effect. If you read it all the way, you will understand that's exactly what it says in the event that this person is terminated, this is what would happen.
That wasn't my question.
But you said, you said that it would go to from 85 to 105. That's if you got rid of this person. Outside that, those contracts don't even go into effect unless that happened. If you read the whole contract, it states that. But I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to go back and forth because it seems like that's what you want to do. So I'm not going to oblige you on that part. But that being said, I'll accept the motion for adjournment. Second. All in favor? Motion.
Clean up the zoning. Guys are tripping.